A drunk man stumbles home, expertly grabs the key from under a flower pot, washes his hair, and immediately passes out. But not long after, the door opens again and a woman walks in, noticing the alarm clock has been moved and mysterious water spots on the toilet. She's too exhausted to think much of it though. That is, until she hits the pillow.
Who the hell are you?
Who the hell are you?
Well, I live here.
I live here.
This is my bed.
This is my bed.
Seeing the man acting so entitled, she doesn't hesitate and goes straight for her phone to call the cops. He tells her to calm down, insisting there must be some kind of misunderstanding. But right then, he slips and crashes hard onto the floor. That fall instantly sobers him up just enough to realize something is wrong. It isn't until she says the address that he finally understands what happened. Turns out his buddy messed up the address when calling him a ride. And by pure coincidence, not only do the houses look identical outside, but the hidden key spot and interior decor are practically the same, with only tiny details differing. Once he explains the whole mix-up, she slowly lowers her phone. Now that he's calmed down, he starts studying this woman, feeling like he's seen her somewhere before. Then it suddenly clicks. This isn't actually their first meeting. Just last night at Bennigan's, they were both there with their respective partners. Ella's boyfriend was a boxer, handsome, and built like a tank. Nick's girlfriend was a model and a bit of an influencer online. That night, Ella had been waiting all evening for a proposal, but instead of a ring, she got dumped. She froze on the spot, realizing the romantic proposal she'd fantasized about was nothing but her own delusion. Feeling humiliated and angry, she turned and stormed out. Meanwhile, Nick pulled out a ring to propose to his girlfriend. When he asked when they could officially get engaged, she said next Christmas. Nick lost it. He'd worked up the courage to propose, and she wanted him to wait another year, which he wasn't having. But she took issue with his attitude and got up to leave.
Come on, you're gonna leave? We just got engaged.
Whoa, no, we did not. I am taking back my yes.
Outside the restaurant, Ella was trying to hail a ride. But just as she was about to get in, Nick's girlfriend swooped in and stole the car, sending the freshly dumped Ella over the edge. Right then, Nick chased outside. He apologized to Ella on his girlfriend's behalf, but noticed she was clearly distraught.
Do you need help?
Not unless you got an engagement ring in your pocket.
Nick wanted to say something but held back. What Ella didn't know was that Nick actually had an engagement ring in his pocket. Neither of them expected their next encounter to be quite this awkward. But the awkwardness was just getting started when the doorbell suddenly rang. Standing there was none other than Ella's ex-boyfriend, Kip. After their blowout last night, Kip showed up today to grab his suit. Then, in the very next second,
We broke up less than 24 hours ago, and there's already some naked guy in your apartment? I mean, how?
We didn't break up. You broke up with me.
Wait, you broke up with her right before New Year's Eve?
Hearing this, boxer Kip turned to pummel Nick, and Ella quickly jumped between them. But Kip just pivoted to sarcasm, mocking Ella's terrible taste for picking such a wimp who runs around half naked. Ella didn't argue or get mad. Instead, she turned to Nick and planted a huge kiss right on his lips. That kiss wasn't affection. It was a declaration of war. Then, Ella ordered Kip to get out. Seeing Kip's vicious glare and that throat-slitting gesture, lawyer Nick knew exactly how much danger he was in. So the second Kip left, Nick tried to bolt right after him, but Ella called him back. Her sister's wedding was starting soon, and she had already told her family she was bringing a boyfriend. Now she had no boyfriend and the wedding was imminent. Luckily, her family had never met Kip, only heard about him. Meaning if she brought any guy home, nobody would know the difference for a while. Nick refused, still planning to make things right with his influencer girlfriend, not fake date a woman he'd known for 12 hours. No matter how much Ella begged, Nick wouldn't budge. But just as Ella lost all hope, a knock came at the door again.
Hey, I forgot my bag.
It was just him coming back for his bag, though Ella thought he'd changed his mind.
Okay, I'd have to leave by 8.
He figured he was half responsible for this mess since sleeping in the wrong house caused Kip's massive misunderstanding. But he set a condition. He could only stay until 8 p.m. because after that, he was going back to win over his girlfriend. To avoid getting caught at the wedding, Ella started cramming Nick with info. Kip's age, job, family background, and even his tone of voice. She wanted to shove every single detail into his brain at once. When Nick emerged in a suit, Ella realized he actually looked pretty good. They quickly looked away, both knowing that lingering eye contact had already crossed a line. Little did they know, once the heart's door cracks open, you can never shut it again. Next, they rushed to the bridal shop to pick up the veil for the sister's wedding, but disaster struck again. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. They ran to the front only to find the shop closed early, and Ella completely fell apart. Nick tried to tell her to breathe, but Ella had already locked eyes on the back gate. She insisted on breaking in, but since she was wearing a dress, Nick volunteered to climb the wall. Halfway up, he couldn't find a foothold and ended up dangling helplessly in midair. He only made it over because Ella reached up and hauled him in. The whole thing was clumsy and totally undignified. But luckily, they managed to grab the veil they needed. They hurried back to the car, but Nick suddenly ran back inside to leave some cash to cover the damage they'd caused. Just as they buckled in to leave, a new problem popped up. The engine wouldn't turn over, probably busted from all the chaos earlier. With time running out, they had no choice but to hoof it to the venue. To make matters worse, there wasn't a single taxi in sight. Just when they were out of options, a horse-drawn carriage rolled by, and Ella grabbed at it like a lifeline, chasing it down without even noticing she'd lost a shoe. Fortunately, the carriage was slow and she caught up fast. The elderly couple happily let them hop aboard without hesitation. Along the way, Ella and Nick learned today happened to be the couple's wedding anniversary. The old lady wore a pink coat that looked vintage but was kept in pristine condition. She told Ella it was a lucky coat. Years ago, she almost missed her husband, but that bright pink jacket helped him spot her in the crowd, leading them to find each other. Listening to their love story, Ella smiled on the surface, but a complicated sadness stirred inside her. She believed in love too, yet after believing for so long, all she got was Kip, backing away and leaving. Sitting beside her, Nick seemed to start rethinking what real love should actually look like. Soon enough, the carriage reached the elderly couple's destination. When saying goodbye, the old lady adored Ella and insisted on gifting her that pink coat. Ella felt bad accepting it and tried to refuse, but the woman wouldn't take no for an answer.
He's a keeper. Will you take this and just make sure you pay for that couple's meal? I'll just come by in the morning to grab it. Thank you so much.
Nick watched all of this quietly, secretly admiring Ella's character even more. After bidding the couple farewell, Ella and Nick continued toward the wedding. After everything they'd been through, the dynamic between them had shifted, and their glances now carried something unspoken. They soon arrived at the wedding hotel. Before entering, Ella nervously reminded Nick repeatedly not to blow their cover no matter what anyone asked. But once inside, Ella realized she'd worried for nothing. This makeshift boyfriend didn't slip up once. Instead, he acted incredibly natural. He was polite to elders and laughed off relatives' teasing with ease. Ella feared he'd embarrass her, but the more she watched, the more he seemed like a better boyfriend than the real Kip ever was. Even her sister thought Ella had finally picked a winner. But trouble arrived fast. As 8 p.m. approached, Nick tried to sneak away but got cornered by Ella's relatives before he could speak. Everyone demanded to hear their meet-cute story, and her brother-in-law shoved a microphone right into Nick's hand. Ella's heart leaped into her throat, but Nick didn't panic. Remembering the elderly couple's romance from the carriage, he just started telling their story.
It was a chilly, gray October morning, and I was taking the ferry into the city to meet a friend when I look down and I see the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in this incredible carnation pink coat.
He spoke so sincerely that Ella found herself getting lost in it. She couldn't tell if he was just playing his part or using the tale to say things he was too scared to admit outright. He spoke with conviction, she listened intently, and only they knew which parts were fiction and which were truth. As the wedding went on, the tension between them grew thicker. Truth was, they'd already fallen for each other, but since it started as a business arrangement, neither dared to say it first. But what happened next shattered everything because the real Kip showed up. Ella's face went pale instantly. Kip marched in, saw Nick wearing his suit and stealing his identity, and absolutely lost it. He exposed the lie publicly, throwing the entire venue into chaos. Ella's family finally realized this sweet, attentive guy wasn't Kip at all. Furious, Kip tackled Nick and the two men brawled right there at the wedding, spiraling completely out of control. Right then, a ring tumbled out of Nick's pocket, and Ella froze solid. She knew Nick had to leave at 8, but she hadn't realized he planned to propose to his girlfriend. Seeing that ring made it painfully clear that they had zero future together. Worse still, her sister's big day was ruined by this circus. It became obvious Ella insisted on bringing a date just to save face. On a deeper level, her sister always saw her as the unreliable one. This wedding meant everything to her sister. Yet Ella climbed through a window for a veil instead of doing it properly. After getting dumped by Kip, she desperately hired a fake boyfriend. Everything she did was just to prove she could actually be dependable. People are often like this. The more terrified they are of being seen clearly, the harder they try to make everything perfect. Ella wasn't just fighting to save her sister's wedding. She was clinging to the last shred of trust her family had in her. Yet, she still managed to wreck it all. Nick quickly apologized, but Ella blamed herself entirely for dragging a stranger into her sister's biggest day and using lies to patch up her own messy life. To ease her guilt, Nick finally confessed the truth.
I don't know, when I saw you the other night in the parking lot, I felt something that I've never felt before, and I wanted to wrap my arms around you and just tell you that everything was going to be okay.
Ella's expression shifted noticeably after hearing it. But just as she was about to respond, Kip charged back in. Seeing the men about to clash again, Ella feared Nick would get hurt and told him to go. But to Nick's ears, those words sounded exactly like a rejection. With no other choice, he decided to leave. Before he went, Kip made sure to demand his suit back. Already fuming, Nick stripped off the suit right then and there. A staff member quickly handed him his own jacket. Nick put it on, took one last look at Ella, and walked out of the hotel in defeat. Snow had started falling outside, and the carriage that brought them was still parked nearby. The driver saw Nick looking wrecked and reminded him he seemed to have forgotten something. Nick thought he meant the suit, but the man was talking about the girl. Since Nick's destination was far, the driver could only drop him at a bus stop. Boarding the bus, Nick's disheveled state drew whispers from other passengers, but a kind soul eventually offered him a spare set of clothes. Shortly after, Nick arrived at the spot where he was supposed to meet his girlfriend, but seeing his bruised face and shabby outfit, her first reaction wasn't concern, it was embarrassment. Before meeting Ella, Nick might have blamed himself for all this, but reflecting on the wild day he'd had, Nick finally understood he wanted genuine connection, where every smile and glance truly mattered to both people. His girlfriend, on the other hand, had never actually cared about his feelings at all. Having realized this, Nick broke up with her on the spot and walked away without looking back. Over with Ella, Kip finally said the words she'd once dreamed of hearing. But that was in the past. Ella had woken up realizing she never wanted a belated ring, but someone who chose her without hesitation. Later, Ella sat down with her sister for a real heart-to-heart. Her sister telling her to be herself meant Ella didn't need to hide her panic or pain just to prove she was reliable. Life isn't a test you have to ace perfectly, and people who love you won't write you off just because you messed up once. After her sister left the room, Ella's eyes landed on that pink coat. In that moment, she thought of Nick, the elderly couple's love story, and the undeniable sincerity in Nick's eyes when he told it. Ella finally realized she never had to pretend to be perfect around Nick. Maybe that's what love is really supposed to feel like. Meanwhile, Nick had gotten home and collapsed into bed, totally exhausted. But soon after, the door opened again, and Ella walked in, using the key hidden under the flower pot. Seeing the decor that mirrored her own place so closely, Ella knew Nick hadn't lied about the mix-up. Startled by her sudden appearance, Nick panicked for a second. She claimed she was returning his backpack, but that was just an excuse. Seeing he was alone, Ella immediately asked if he'd proposed to his girlfriend. When he said no, she couldn't hold back her feelings any longer. You'd think the story ends here, but the next second, Nick's ex-girlfriend showed up at the door.
I want my Sonicare.
While Nick stepped away to grab something, the ex started venting to Ella, complaining he dumped her publicly while people filmed, painting Ella as the homewrecker. Guilt washed over Ella. She refused to be the wrecking ball in someone else's relationship or ruin Nick's life because of her. So she stopped arguing, turned around, and walked out. Nick immediately chased after her, desperate to make her stay. But Ella stayed rational, pointing out they'd known each other less than a day and he barely knew her. Even crazier, just hours ago, he was ready to marry someone else. To Ella, this romance was moving way too fast. If they were truly meant to be, they'd find each other again even if they parted now. She suggested a week of no contact to let fate decide, giving them time to ask if a single day was worth tossing aside years of history. And so their romance paused on that snowy night.
You know, when the universe gives you a gift, you don't just say no.
Happy New Year, Griffin.
The next day, Nick met his family for dinner, and when he stood up to use the restroom, silence spoke volumes. No misunderstandings, no fake identities, and no lies left to cover. That pink coat symbolized luck while carrying the weight of two love stories. Just like Ella's sister told her, don't let fear stop you from trying, because only by stepping forward will the next pink coat be waiting for you down the road. I'll leave you with this thought. I'd rather make mistakes than do nothing at all.